Leave a brief hello in the comments section before we get started. It might not seem like much, but believe me, it greatly facilitates YouTube sharing this tale with additional science fiction enthusiasts like ourselves. I'd like to know who is observing. The first flash appeared out of nowhere. Like a sword on velvet, a ripple in the emptiness ripped through the black. Next. And another, and another. Gradually, the Grand Galactic Coalition's warships burst out of subspace in perfect synchronicity, exploding into the center of the Tessar Nebula. 9,900 vessels, each representing a distinct republic, empire, dominion, or divine order, created a broad arc over the starless divine flagships, cruisers, dreadnoughts, and carriers lined up like a crown of heaven, glinting into sector patterns. Zarek Hijmani Admiral Calivor, leaning on the edge of his obsidian command deck, his segmented exoskeleton shone in the violet light of the nebula. Behind a translucent visor, twin vertical pupils narrowed. Sector 4, realign to. He snapped, Eastern coordinates. In 12 minutes, we make the last jump. Don't allow. Primitive people believe that we hesitate. Arch-Warlord Ulik aboard the Dominion of Asgar's primary flagship. Thorn placed both of his talons on the high altar console, the red. His bone-plated armor reflects a script of tactical overlays. Dozens of commoners gathered around him in ceremonial. Low-frequency incantations were recited by garments while targeting algorithms operated. When the fires fall, everyone on Earth will disperse like sand, Thorn whispered. Nobody questioned it. The human race had persisted in the edges over an extended period of time, becoming unstable, reactive, and fractured, just surpassing. Fusion technology is constantly too loud and overly exclusive. Tellerist Terev, the director of navigation on board the Varnan Technate's fleet node, blinked his 8 eyes in order. No anomalies related to gravity. Echoes in subspace are consistent with earlier estimates. He reported on all bridges with no indications of disturbance. The reports were identical. Every system is apparent, and every formation is stable. Then arrived the quiet. Something else, rather than the expected quiet of deep space. Something intentional. In their command decks, ancient species shuffled uneasily. Twitching of sensory nodules. Beats of additional hearts skipping. There was no silence. It was absent. No interference, no environmental abnormalities, no background radiation, nothing. Asel Noir, commander of the Girari Enlightened, looked at the sensors with his silver eyes. A radio should be present. Tentacles coiling uneasily, he continued, waves bouncing through the nebula. Disturbances in solar echo, even micro. He went to his first officer and said, pulses from the dark clusters. This is. Possibly they finally learned to keep quiet, said General Kordranov. The Roth theocracy, gritting teeth in a smile. People fear in silence, as is customary. Reconfigure the lateral scopes, barked Vice, and with his reptilian features taut with mistrust, Admiral Ralvis Stars of the Makari Federation checks gravitational lenses. There are slight but unaccounted for shifts. Reorganization procedures for the last jump towards Sol were started by hundreds of ships, and the coalitions. Voices overlapped over a private channel between factional leaders, as political differences boiled beneath the surface. Admiral Re Vosker of the Varan Combine snarled, we should wait, a thick set. This zone doesn't feel right. Being whose bark-like skin contracted with irritation. We continue to lag behind in our reintegration. Thorn was interrupted by a growl. Vosker, the delay could save lives. Delay is cowardice. Replied, you talk about hesitancy in a hallway when triumph is certain. Thorn snarled. Your species was usually cautious rather than bold. We won the Ural War because of that prudence. Maybe you remember how many priests you left burning in orbit. Enough, cut in. Director Dov, keep moving forward with the strategy, although tactical cohesion is breaking. Cracks were already beginning to appear. Captain Ison Trell, a slender Brillari with bright pupils, examined his display and... We have a dead sector in Quadrant 7, it's too quiet, Command, scowled. It's not natural that there are 0 background particle counts, and suddenly the light warped without any obvious warning. Like someone pulling a veil, a Real ripple rushed across the nebula. Back. Space's curvature shook just enough to draw attention to it before it snapped back into position. The sky ripped as all eyes turned to the central emptiness. Open, devoid of warnings, alerts, or fire. Dozens of points burst outward in a flawless, synchronous cascade of well-coordinated spatial folds. They didn't register as ships, and there was no heat signature, no mass displacement, and no explosion inside the coalition formation. Light lines pierced the pattern, but there were no tachyon spikes. Not energy beams, but lasers. Something quicker, cleaner. A whole column of. Without any warning or explosion, the Zurak war cruisers just blinked red and disappeared. Unmade. As though reality had denied them permission to exist, other. The column didn't recede, it wasn't glitched, and commanders watched as their screens failed to redraw. Obliterated. It was erased. Kalever stumbled away, his jaws hanging wide. What? What is that? Thorns. Across open channels, a voice crackled, we are being attacked. Please take precautions. Find the source. The image of Admiral Vosker, with his eyes wide and his voice low, flickered across multiple screens. That isn't feasible. Our full-spectrum scans showed nothing. A single unfiltered scanner faltered, displays blanked, alien officers froze across all fleet bridges. The truth was revealed by the view, sleek, angular, matte-black vessels of unknown design moving in unison. Between coalition formation gaps. Human ships. No proclamations, no. Just action, broadcast demands. One of the Varnan signal officers coughed. They're not sending anything, and we're not being hailed. Inside the Jirari flagship, a glistening multi-eyed. The tactician fell to his knees and muttered, they didn't send a response. They sent a sentence, and the commanders of the Alliance stood up one by one, yelling commands. Regroup formation. Coalition doctrine depended on central coordination, activate targeting matrices. Where is the central command link? Without it, formations were not only headless but also blind. Fire on moving objects. It was too late. On A. Hulvern, the arch-strategist, stood still on the Grathian capital ship. Beyond the glass, a huge antler figure was lit by explosions. How did they know? He muttered. How did? Did they know we were coming? Warlord Thorn fixed his gaze on the Asker Divine flagship. His eyes widened when the third sector of the fleet collapsed in his tactical array. 3,000. He looked at his high crafter, seeing ships gone or falling out of formation. The man said, estimate response time from human command. Since there was no answer. Voice quivering. They had already arrived. Each species has a unique method of detecting fear. The Brolari released bursts of sound, the Xerox hissed, their thoraxes vibrating in low frequency. Color through their skin's membranes, creating patterns of shared fear. The Roth became silent. Each in their own way, the Jirari sung prayers that turned into static, shattering their theocratic discipline. Wei recognized. This was an execution, not an ambush, and every bridge turned into a funeral, with some people praying, howling, and others just freezing and gazing at a They were already in the killing field, and death was too exact to comprehend. The stream on the Lunar Strategic Command went dark the instant Kelever's battle vessels disappeared. 16 levels below the Sea of Tranquility, within a room protected from all known types of. The silence hung thicker than the emptiness outside due to electromagnetic assault. Human High Command just watched, without cheering or speaking. On a solitary luminous vector that represented